Jin was seen struggling to speak. His slow speech and blank expression left fans stunned and deeply concerned for his health. What is happening? Are they being pushed to the point of exhaustion? How did it come to this? RM tells the truth, even though HYBE didn't want him to. V forgets the name of Jin's song. Jimin calls him sloppy, and that's not all. Meanwhile, HYBE has been raided by police. Here's what we know, and what it could mean for BTS. Stay with us until the end. We're breaking down everything. Jin could hardly talk. His slow speech and blank expression left fans stunned and deeply concerned for his health. What is happening? Right after finishing his solo concert in Dallas, Jin went live, but something felt different. Fans who tuned in expecting his usual energy were surprised to see a much quieter version of him. He looked tired, sat still in front of the camera, and didn't have the usual spark. It didn't take long for people to notice that something was off. Jin, who's currently traveling the world for his tour, told fans that he was feeling completely worn out. He admitted that both his body and his brain weren't working well that day. He said it had been a hard day and that he felt like his mind and mouth just weren't doing what he wanted them to. Instead of putting on a big show, he simply wanted to sit with his fans for a bit and breathe. He described it as needing a moment to space out with ARMY. Fans could see he wasn't exaggerating. He looked genuinely exhausted. His voice was slow, his eyes looked heavy, and he didn't have the usual bright expression he's known for. As soon as the live stream started, people online began sharing their concerns. Many were saying that he seemed really tired, and it was clear he needed to rest. Some felt so worried they said he didn't even need to talk during the live stream. He could just sit there, read their messages, eat something, or quietly do whatever he wanted. Others guessed that all the traveling and performing might have caught up with him, and hoped he would get a proper break soon. But it's not just the tour that's wearing him down. Jin is also helping prepare for BTS's next group album, which is expected to come out in spring 2026. So while he's busy flying from city to city, performing on stage, and staying connected with fans, he's also juggling studio time, meetings, and other behind-the-scenes work. It's a lot to handle all at once, even for someone used to a packed schedule. Even though fans were worried, they also showed a lot of love and appreciation. Many thanked him for working so hard and said they were proud of him. They told him it was okay to slow down, and that his health mattered more than anything else. One thing was clear: fans just wanted him to rest and take care of himself. Are they being forced to work to exhaustion? How did it come to this? BTS, the biggest band in the world, working to the point of physical collapse, before they were performing in front of thousands of fans, winning major awards, or becoming the faces of designer brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. The members of BTS were just 7 regular guys trying to survive in a world that didn't believe in them. Their story isn't about luck, it's about pain, hard work, and refusing to give up, no matter how bad things got. There are a few stories that show what BTS's life was really like behind the scenes. These aren't rumors or fan fantasies. They were real situations where the members pushed themselves to the edge, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. Jimin, for example, is known now for his perfect dancing and incredible stage presence, but during their early years, he was constantly training, so much that he barely got any sleep. Some nights, he only slept for 2 or 3 hours. It wasn't because someone told him to work harder. He made that choice himself because he didn't want to fall behind. Even though he had talent, it wasn't enough for him. He wanted to be the best, and he was willing to suffer for it. Jin had it even harder. When he first joined Big Hit, he couldn't sing or dance. At his audition, he struggled just to stay on beat. Most companies wouldn't have given him a second chance, but Jin decided he wasn't going to let that stop him. While on tour, he would stay up late in hotel rooms practicing alone while the rest of the group slept. At the same time, he stepped up as the older brother figure in BTS. He made sure the others were okay, even driving Jungkook to school when they had no one else. One year, he didn't make RM's birthday dinner, not because he forgot, but because he was so tired that he just couldn't do it. These weren't lazy or careless kids. They were exhausted young men trying not to fall apart. RM, the group's leader, had to make a tough decision when he was still a student. He told his parents he could either follow the normal path, stay in school, get a steady job, and live a stable life, or risk everything to follow his dream of becoming a musician. He chose the risk. And he didn't just want to try music. He said he wanted to become the most successful artist in Korea. That decision meant years of pressure and nonstop work, but RM owned it. He didn't want praise. He wanted to prove something to himself. Suga's path was full of obstacles. Before BTS, he worked part-time jobs, studied, and traveled for hours every day just to reach the studio. Sometimes, he walked for miles just to save money on bus fare. That money went toward food, usually just one cheap meal a day. He wrote music constantly, but people stole his songs. His parents didn't support him, and even threw away his lyrics. He silently struggled with depression, anxiety, and OCD. Then, while delivering food for work, he was hit by a car in a hit-and-run accident. He didn't tell anyone. He was scared that if Big Hit found out, they would let him go. His shoulder pain lasted for years until he finally had surgery in 2020. But through all of it, he kept making music and kept showing up. Back when they were trainees, the 7 members lived together in a tiny dorm room. There was barely enough space to walk around their beds. Their clothes were cheap. $14 hoodies with English writing they couldn't even read. Big Hit was close to shutting down. BTS wasn't booked for big shows. They only got to perform if other artists canceled. They had no fame, no special treatment, and no guarantees. Just endless practice and a hope that someday it would all be worth it. And even with all of that, they never walked away. It wasn't just about how many hours BTS worked. It was that they chose to work those hours. No one forced them to stay up late, walk for hours, or practice until they dropped. They made those decisions themselves because they wanted to create something of their own. Now BTS is known all over the world. They speak at the United Nations. They're millionaires. But all of that came later. What came first was hard work, sweat, and sacrifice. Jungkook, the youngest member, once said something simple. It may take time, but there's nothing that gets worse due to practicing. It's not a complicated sentence, but when you think about how much pain and pressure he lived through, it means everything. BTS didn't become famous because of luck or timing. They earned it step by painful step. Their success feels different because it is different. BTS, accused of being fake and pushing themselves too far, finally reveal what's really going on behind the scenes. When RM sat down with the Spanish newspaper El País, instead of giving carefully polished answers, he was brutally honest, especially when talking about how people in the West see South Korea and K-pop. He didn't try to be polite. He told the truth as he saw it. The interview happened a few years ago, but it became widely known thanks to Spanish-speaking fans who translated it into English. One part of it stood out more than the rest. The interviewer asked RM if the intense pressure in K-pop, things like chasing perfection, staying young-looking, and working non-stop, came from Korean culture. That's when RM gave an answer that made people stop and think. He said that many people in the West don't understand why Koreans work so hard. According to him, they don't have the background to fully get it. He explained that around 70 years ago, Korea had nothing. The country had been invaded, destroyed, and split in half after war. For years, it had to rely on help from places like the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund just to survive. But things changed fast. Today, South Korea is known around the world for technology, music, fashion, and more. RM said that didn't just happen by luck. It happened because people gave everything they had to build the country back up. They worked, in his words, effing hard. He said it's easy for people in the West to judge that kind of effort, but it's not something they can really relate to. He pointed out that countries like France and the UK had power and resources for centuries. So when someone from those places says life in Korea is too stressful, RM said, his answer is simple. Yes, it is, but that's how progress is made. He didn't say that everything in K-pop is perfect. In fact, he admitted that working too fast and too hard does come with side effects, but he strongly disagreed with the idea that K-pop is fake or manufactured. He said that's one of the biggest lies people believe about the industry. K-pop artists train for years, sacrifice normal lives, and constantly push themselves. None of that, he said, is artificial. At one point, the interviewer asked him if the K-pop system dehumanizes idols. Basically, if it treats them like products instead of people. RM said his company doesn't really like when he talks about this, but he still answered. He said he does see flaws in the system, and yes, it can be very hard. But he also warned that the second someone says anything negative, people from outside Korea tend to blow it out of proportion. He's seen journalists twist his words into dramatic headlines like K-pop destroys young people. when that's not what he meant at all. RM didn't ask people to feel sorry for him or for Korea. He asked them to understand where all that pressure comes from. And for anyone who thinks BTS got lucky or that K-pop is fake, he made it clear, none of this was easy and none of it was fake. V forgets the name of Jin's song. Jimin calls Jin sloppy and more. When Jin performed at his recent concert, the spotlight may have been on him, but it was the behind-the-scenes moments with his BTS members that really warmed fans' hearts. Before the concert kicked off, Jin was backstage getting ready. He was stretching alone, focusing on the moment, when Jimin walked in. But instead of giving serious support or advice, Jimin chose humor. He playfully teased Jin about stretching by himself, making the room laugh. Even though he was joking, he followed it up with a sincere compliment. Jin responded in true Jin style, over the top and full of charm, dramatically apologizing like he'd done something wrong. The mood immediately lightened. Suga came in shortly after and started complaining about how hot it was. Jin, being Jin, started talking about himself again. But Suga wasn't letting him off that easy. He joked that the audience was probably feeling even hotter than Jin. It was the kind of comfortable teasing that only happens between people who know each other really well. Their back and forth felt like watching two old friends who've been through a lot together. Then Jungkook entered and called out to Jimin with a sweet, "My Jiminy." But Jimin flipped the energy instantly by jokingly scolding Jungkook in a serious military-style voice, mocking the way soldiers might act during training. It was clear the members were slipping into their old dynamics without even trying. Even though the event was all about Jin, it felt like a mini BTS reunion. Amid all the jokes and teasing, there were real moments of support. Jimin said he was excited for Jin's tour, and admitted that while he'd been messing around earlier, he was genuinely impressed by Jin's performance, especially his piano playing. He even brought up something V had said. Apparently, V had complimented Jin's Rope It performance, but had accidentally called the song Tie Me Up, which quickly turned into an inside joke. During the show, Jin performed a solo version of BTS's emotional track, Spring Day. Jungkook and Suga stood to the side, watching quietly. They didn't say much, but their faces said everything. They looked proud and nostalgic. V sends a bouquet of flowers to a waffle store. V surprised fans by doing something completely unexpected. He quietly sent a large bouquet of flowers to celebrate the opening of a brand new waffle shop. It was a small business, just getting started, but his gesture made a big impression. The floral arrangement, mostly made up of pink flowers, was spotted by a Korean blogger who posted a picture of it online. It wasn't just the beautiful colors that got people's attention, it was the ribbon tied to it. Written in Korean on a long pink sash was a simple, poetic message, BTS V. May every moment of your life bloom like a flower. There was no announcement from his agency, no fancy marketing, just a thoughtful gift, quietly delivered. Soon, the post began spreading across social media. Fans praised V for showing support in such a personal and humble way. Some talked about how he's known for quietly lifting up small businesses, whether it's an indie brand, a local cafe, or now, a waffle shop. Others saw the message as something deeper, a wish for happiness and success, expressed in the most V-like way, soft, poetic, and full of warmth. Many fans also brought up something else. V loves waffles. He's mentioned it before in interviews and live streams. So for him to send flowers to a waffle store didn't feel random. Even though no one from his team has confirmed anything, and the name of the waffle shop hasn't been revealed, the moment didn't stay small. HYBE raided by police. Here's what we know and what it might mean for BTS. At exactly 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, South Korean police arrived at HYBE's headquarters in Seoul with a search warrant in hand. They weren't there for a routine checkup. They were investigating serious financial crime allegations. The company, best known around the world as the powerhouse behind BTS, is now facing one of the biggest legal challenges in its history. The raid was carried out by the Financial Crimes Investigation Unit of the Seoul Metropolitan Police. Officials confirmed they were there to seize records and documents related to an ongoing investigation into illegal stock trading. The target? HYBE's founder and chairman, Ban PD, also known in the industry as Hitman Bang. Police believe Bang and 3 other top executives at HYBE may have tricked smaller shareholders into selling their stock to a private investment firm. What makes the situation worse is that this investment firm was allegedly secretly controlled by the same HYBE executives. Once they got their hands on those shares, at what appears to be a cheaper rate, they're suspected of waiting until HYBE went public and then cashing in on the stock's jump in value. If that's true, it would be a serious violation of South Korea's Capital Markets Act, which bans deceptive or unfair financial deals. The police action wasn't random. It came after the Securities and Futures Commission, which is part of the Financial Services Commission, filed a criminal complaint against Bang and his team. That complaint led directly to the raid and launched a full investigation. In response, HYBE has firmly denied doing anything illegal. Earlier this month, the company said in a public statement that its initial public offering, IPO, followed all rules and regulations. They also said they're fully cooperating with police and plan to prove that the listing process was above board. BANPD is still HYBE's biggest shareholder and is widely credited for turning BTS from unknown rookies into a global music phenomenon. Under his leadership, HYBE became a multi-billion-dollar business that now stretches beyond K-pop into international entertainment, tech, and branding. However, this investigation comes at a difficult time for the company. At the same time, questions have been growing about how HYBE handles artist management and whether insiders have been trading stock using confidential information. So far, no one has been arrested. Police haven't said whether Bang or any of the executives have been questioned yet. But the fact that they secured a court-approved warrant to search HYBE's offices suggests they believe there's real evidence to be found. HYBE has said it needs time to explain everything and stand by the claim that its IPO was completely legal. But now that the investigation is public, pressure is coming from more than just the authorities. Investors are paying attention, so are fans, and so is the rest of the K-pop industry. Right now, there's no solid proof that BANPD has done anything illegal. Yes, the police searched HYBE's main office and there's an investigation going on, but that doesn't automatically mean he's guilty. He hasn't been charged with anything, and no one has been arrested. What's happening is that he and a few others are being looked into because they're suspected of manipulating company stock, but nothing has been confirmed yet. Just because someone is under investigation doesn't mean they did something wrong. Everyone deserves a fair chance to explain themselves before being judged. That said, this situation might still affect BTS in a big way. BANPD isn't just the head of HYBE. He's the person who discovered BTS and helped shape their entire journey. If things at the top of the company start getting unstable, it could mess with plans for future albums and promotions. BTS might not stop making music, but the drama surrounding HYBE could create distractions and confusion. With the group's reunion on the horizon, fans are hoping nothing gets in the way, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and people are paying close attention to what happens next.